I have to entertain a motion for that. He's sick. Very sick. He does. I feel bad for him. He's like, because he's 2 hours away. He's like, yeah.
30 seconds.
Good evening and welcome to the June 24th, 2025 council meeting for the Village of Holly. Clerk, please call the roll.
Weinbrenner,
Here.
Wendell,
Here.
Ryan, Koskela, Cole,
Here.
Kyer,
Here.
Brandon,
Here, we have a quorum. I will entertain a motion to excuse Koskela. He did write in and say he is not feeling well today.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Ryan, and we have a second by Weinbrenner. It was a good race. All in support, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. If you are willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. This brings us to the approval of our consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Village Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately immediately after consent agenda approval in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Is that so?
I think we have an objection over
We
there.
have one point of order over there. However, Madam President, I do have a couple points of order on this. Items H through J, they should be consideration of the approved DDA minutes. The DDA board's already approved them. We are just receiving them here.
Okay, so not approval, approved. Okay. Yes.
If council had a chance to review the DDA director contract, I would like to make a motion to bring that to the agenda.
For item, that would be item H of new business. We could add it, but it would have to be a majority vote to add it to new business if council would like to. If not, it's going to be on the July 8th meeting.
Okay.
I'll second his motion.
Now,
We don't have the contract in front of us.
I would suggest waiting until the July 8th meeting so council has a chance to review everything. So we do have a motion and we do have a second. Does it need president approval to be added to the agenda?
I believe according to our bylaws, it would need presidential approval to add it.
Mr. Gildner, can you verify?
That's true.
So, okay, I am not approving that addition to the agenda. But we will have it at the 8th. I would have called a special meeting for it, but since the next meeting's only 2 weeks away, I think we can wait. All right, so back to consent agenda. I will, let's see, where are we? Lisa, can you please read the consent agenda?
A, agenda approval. B, consideration of the approval of the Village Council minutes of May 13th, 2025. C, consideration of the approval of the Village Council special meeting minutes of May 29th, 2025. D, consideration of the approval of the Village Council special meeting minutes on June 10th, 2025. E, consideration of the approval of the Village Council special meeting minutes on June 16th, 2025. F, consideration of the approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2025. G, consideration of the approval of the Downtown Development Authority minutes of February 10th, 2025. H, consideration of the approved DDA minutes of April 14th, 2025. I, consideration of the approved DDA minutes of April 21st, 2025. J, consideration of the approved of DDA minutes for May 12th, 2025. K, consideration for approval of business registration application for Holly Quilt Shop. L, acknowledgement of receipts of correspondence for Village Council. M, acknowledgement of receipts of renewal of 5-year IT agreement renewal with Oakland County for Clemens Service. N, acknowledgement of receipt of Village of Holly staff draft public engagement guide. O, consideration of the approval of warrant 2025-006 in the amount of $594,594.77. P, acknowledgement of receipt of Village of Holly revenue and expenditure report for the period ending May 31st, 2025. Q, acknowledgement of the receipt of the Village of Holly balance sheet for the period ending May 31st, 2025.
Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Before we approve it, there was a change in the letters G through K, right, Mr. Manager Tim?
H through J.
Yeah,
H through J?
I mean, it should have been G. You are correct, because that is the DDA, as well as, and I'm noticing now, it should have been the Zoning Board of Appeals as well. because
So what's the proper word we need to use?
Consideration of the approved
right.
Zoning Board of Appeals minutes, approved, because they've already been approved by their different boards.
But you would say like, I would have it to.
As
Can-
amended.
So we'd say as amended?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do I hear a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
We have a motion by Wendell.
Second.
We have a second by Kyer. Any discussion? Nope, nope, nope. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ryan,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. This brings us to tonight's presentation. Tonight, we are presenting the key to the village to Monica Turner. Monica, will you approach the podium, please? Hi. Monica Turner has been with the Holly Area Schools for 20 years. She has been a teacher and administrator with Holly Area Schools for the last 6 years. She was a principal at Holly Elementary for 5 years, and this is her second year as the principal at Holly Middle School. She spent 20 years here as a teacher in Holly, working with all grade levels in both general education and special education. I'm sure this well-rounded background in her esteemed career is part of the reason she is in leadership today. Her life has been dedicated to the education of our children, and for that we are eternally grateful. Mrs. Turner said that she is also a proud Holly graduate, so being a Bronco has been part of her life for as long as she can remember. And next, I have a quote from Superintendent Scott Roper. He said, "It has been a tremendous honor to celebrate Holly Middle School Principal Monica Turner as she receives the key to the village of Holly. A proud Holly High School graduate, Mrs. Turner has dedicated her career to serving her students and our Bronco community with unwavering commitment. From her early days as a teacher and special education instructor to her outstanding leadership as an elementary and middle school principal, she has exemplified what it means to lead with heart, integrity, and purpose. Mrs. Turner brings tremendous energy, courage, and compassion to everything she does. Her positivity is infectious, her resilience is inspiring, and her genuine care for students and staff is unmatched. I can attest to that as a mother to some of the kids that she's worked with. She is both a phenomenal leader and a true advocate for Holly area schools, and an extraordinarily role model for us all." End quote. Monica's impact on our kids has been immeasurable. For this, the village and the surrounding areas are a better place with a brighter future. This key is a Lifetime Achievement Award that serves as a symbol of appreciation for the nominee's dedication and service to this community. This honorific stems from a historic tradition that symbolizes the recipient's freedom to enter and leave their medieval cities and villages as they please. While we like to think the village of Holly is not medieval, we award this key to Monica Turner as a trusted friend of the village residents.
Please step to the principal's office.
I am incredibly honored and humbled to be accepting this key this evening. Not only did I grow up in Holly, lived in Holly, and now I work in Holly, it is truly a momentous occasion to be able to have this honor. As a Holly student and now as an administrator, my whole career and, oh yes, I will absolutely do that for you. My core belief has always been
think
centered
it died.
around students and their opportunity, like for the students, I'm sorry, around the core belief that every kid in our community deserves every opportunity to be able to not only thrive, grow, and learn both academically, emotionally, and socially, but also as future leaders of this community. This key represents not just the recognition this evening, but it also represents and symbolizes my commitment to not only partner with you and the schools to continue to build a community in which our students and our kids feel supported, feel seen, and feel inspired. It is truly an honor for me to accept this key this evening. Thank you so very, very much. I am proud to be a Rocco for life, and I am very proud to be a part of a community that continues to see our kids as true students and community members. So thank you very much.
Madam President, do you want to do 5 minutes for photos and?
Yes. Everyone take 5.
Mr.
Take your
Manager.
pictures, mingle, and we'll take a break.
The batteries died in the mic, I think.
I'll take care of that during the 5.
All right, 5-minute break. All right, welcome back. And clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Weinbrenner,
Here.
Wendell,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
Cole,
Here.
Kyer,
Here.
Brandon.
Here, we're back. All right, let's get to business. At this time, can I hear a motion to open a public hearing on consideration of proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Kyer, second by Ryan. Clerk, can you call the vote, please?
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes. Motion carried. This has been the topic of discussion at several meetings and work sessions over the last couple of months. At this time, would any members of the public like to make any comments? As a reminder, at this time, comments should be related to the public hearing. Mattson?
Anna Mattson, 15091 Western Valley. Ms. Brandon told the press last week, quote, "We did not create this problem, we inherited a hidden deficit." But that's not the truth. Village Council and staff keep warning about dangerous misinformation online, urging people not to believe everything they read. I actually agree that there is misinformation being spread, but most of it stems from our very own village government. Unfortunately, many have fallen victim to the propaganda that you have spread. So let's go through the facts and clear some things up. Ms. Brandon and Ms. Kyer have been on council for 2.5 years. Mr. Weinbrenner served on a prior council. This is not an entirely new council. You three were part of the decisions leading up to this financial mess. It is easy to make excuses, but it's difficult to take accountability. One excuse is that Jerry Walker created this problem and left it for us. Here is the truth. Council is the legislative branch. They approve the budget. Year after year, they've greenlit deficit spending, draining our savings. They've signed off on reckless projects like this office, using future funds we don't even have. Plus, the village manager is hired and overseen by village council. You can't point fingers at him without pointing fingers right back to yourself. Furthermore, Ms. Kyer admitted in April, quote, "It's been brought up by Plant Moran, I know at least the last 2 years that I've been on. We knew we were working at a deficit at least the last 2 years we have been on here." Ms. Kyer and Ms. Brandon were elected at the same time and served together on the last council. So how can one person say she knew while the other claims it was hidden? And it gets worse. On January 14, 2025, Plant Moran said the fund balance has decreased at about $800,000 from the prior year, and this would just be because of an additional capital cost. That was January. If council acted immediately, there would have been time for a special election in May to address this, but council waited until June to act. This is proof even this council and administration dropped the ball. So Ms. Brandon, there are only two possibilities here. Either you knew about the deficit like Ms. Kyer, and you're lying to the public that you knew nothing about it, or you truly didn't know, meaning you didn't read your council packets, didn't pay attention to meetings, and failed to do your job. Both are ethics violations. The public deserves the truth, not excuses. Without accountability, this problem will continue to happen. You will continue to go on a shopping spree and act shocked when the bill comes. Admit it, you all failed your citizens, and you should be working nonstop to fix your mistakes.
Thank you, Ms. Manson. Any further public comment? Mr. Love?
This is on items not on the agenda, right?
This is for the public hearing.
A public hearing? Okay, well, in that case, I'll save I just have one comment to make. Where's a copy of this thing?
We have a presentation up.
There should be some summary or something that you can pass out.
I don't think we're trying to print 300 pages for everybody, but thank
I
you.
don't mean, there's a summary, it isn't 300 pages.
Okay. Any further public comment? Sherilyn?
I'm Sherilyn Everly from 314 Hadley Street, and I just want to thank you all for all the work that you've done. And if there's anybody that has followed the debacle of our village in the last 2 to 3 years, it would be Jim and I. We download every agenda. We attended all the meetings regarding the building of this village offices. And I can't hold any 1 or 2 people responsible, but I can tell you this, that Mr. Walker was never forthcoming with any information. If you look back, how much money was ever spent on training for our council people, training as a planning commissioner? We never wanted to have smart people that ask questions. We never wanted them to be brighter and more knowledgeable. He preferred to operate in the dark, and the darker he could keep around you guys, the easier his life was. So, yep, did we get swindled? I said it at the last meeting, and I'll say it again. I feel victimized. I want the people responsible to be held accountable. I want the people who made the decisions to do the damn berm wrong without a license and without a permit to be held accountable. This village, in terms of budgets and in terms of going forward, will not trust you until we have some accountability. Michigan's a home rule state. I don't know how you get the MSP, how you get the Attorney General to come in here and do a forensic audit and figure out just exactly with somebody's eyes besides yours, mine, or these people, what the hell happened. Because I think there was nefariousness. I think there was, like I like to say, it was either laziness, negligence, or malfeasance, and I'd like to know what it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherilyn. Go ahead.
Sorry. Good evening, I'm Jan Van Zelfte, 15226 Weller Court. I've been a village resident for 21 years. Thank you, council, staff, department heads for being here tonight and for the opportunity to speak. The special assessment has been passed, right? And this year's budget has almost been balanced. So let's get to work after tonight on next year's budget. So hopefully we can avoid another special assessment. I'm here because I want to be a part of the changes that need to be made. So I'm not going to criticize the past. I'm looking toward the future. My first question is, what exactly does Plant Moran do besides prepare a financial report after conducting an audit? It is very informative, and I hope that a lot of residents go to the website and read it, because it was very well laid out, and it did inform me of a lot of things. However, we spent thousands of dollars on it, and so I'm questioning, do they just prepare the report, and then what do we do with the information? Do they advise us, the council, on what they should do next year to be fiscally responsible with revenue and expenses? Do they sort of warn you that if you don't do this or that your budget won't be balanced the next year? I see that there's been an audit every year since at least 2011 submitted to the village at the end of June for the previous year's financial performance. I read last year's audit, and I am having a hard time believing that no one could predict that we would be short this year. So once again, is spending thousands of dollars on an audit benefiting us? And if it is, then how can we make it even more beneficial to us? I had quite a bit more to say, but I actually got some of my questions answered by going straight to the people that are in charge of what I had questioned about. So that's all I'm going to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw a hand up over here. Yes, please.
Stacy Ward, 107 Lake Street. I just want to be on the record seconding what she had to say here on the end and this lady right here in the front. I also want to know why we can't get a forensic audit. We're spending thousands of dollars on every other thing, including all the stuff that you guys want to spend money on, and yeah, the trust factor, it's not there. She said it, I've been feeling it. That's just 2 people in the room. If you want us to trust you, let's look and see where the money went, instead of just pretending like poof, it's just fine, because it isn't fine. And, oh, I'll be back when the new business is here. I have another question.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Yes, please.
Amber Deschone, 300 Seminole Street. I'm here tonight with a heavy heart. The newly approved 4 mil tax increase is a lot for families like mine. We're doing what we can to stay ahead, but this increase only adds to more strain, and yet we're being asked to quietly accept it. What's especially frustrating is what we see or don't see around us. Our roads are full of potholes. I counted 57 in just my drive from Seminole to here that are deeper than 2 inches. Our sidewalks are cracked and crumbling, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to do simple things like let our kids ride their bikes safely around the neighborhood. And yet, when we speak about these concerns, we're met with sarcasm or outright disrespect. A sitting commissioner mocked residents on social media, calling people jealous, sulking, and telling them to shut their mouths. Not once did they clarify that they were speaking on their own behalf. So I ask, is this how our local government views the very people it's meant to serve? I've taken the time to educate myself, as many of us were told to do. I've watched several meetings, I've listened to the audit, I've read as many documents as I can handle, and the more I've learned, the more discouraged I've become. Blaming past leadership is not helping anyone. This current council was all present at January 14th audit review, where a $200,000 shortfall was discussed and still a joke was made. Oh, so no new buildings or fire trucks. And people laughed. That's not accountability, that's avoidance. We need a new audit firm, one that gives more than hindsight. We need proactive insight, real transparency, and leadership that takes responsibility instead of deflecting it. As a follower of Jesus, I say this not to divide, but to call for higher standards. Proverbs remind us that the honest scales belong to the Lord. That applies not only to money, but to integrity, truth, and the way we treat each other. I care so deeply about this village. That's why I'm speaking today, and I hope you all care enough to actually listen to the concerns of your residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. Any further public comment? Yes, please, Jeff.
And it's just Ballard that live at 202 Lakeview. And I want to congratulate all you people that supported this. What a great job you did throwing your integrity and your honor out the window. You people were elected to represent the residents of Holly, not a special interest fire and police department. And you done a great job throwing your honor away. I wouldn't sit in your damn seat if you had enough money to pay me to sit where you people are sitting right now. There's street whores that's got more honor than you people do. And some of you, I voted for one of you that I hate myself for voting for you. And I only mention that one because I had more confidence. I thought I knew him, that he would be honorable and have a little integrity. And it's a damn shame that a bunch of rookies come in, like most of you people are, and throw the village of Holly right down the damn drain for a fire chief that's got some agenda other than doing what he should for the village of Holly. There's a movement going on in Lansing to do away with property taxes. I don't know if you all have heard about it or not. It'll probably never do anything. But property tax is the most dishonorable, unfair tax there is. You can work all your life and then end up losing your home because of a few dollars of property taxes. You get down and out for food or something, there's a welfare program usually to bail you out. But there's nothing to bail you out on your property taxes. I mean, it's just, if you get behind and can't catch up, kiss your property goodbye because your butt's gone. And I don't know how you people could live with yourself. Look at your friends and neighbors now after what you've done. I feel sorry for you, really. And thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close public hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ryan, second by Weinbrenner. Clerk, will you call the roll call vote, please?
Cole?
Yes.
Weinbrenner?
Yes.
Kyer?
Yes.
Wendell?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes, motion carried. This brings us to public comment. Members of the audience may address council on any item not on the agenda. Those addressing council will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. After each agenda item, there will be an additional 2-minute public comment period to speak to that item before council votes. The exception to this is for items that were the subject of the public hearing. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Prior to addressing council, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. Public comment. In the back, please.
Hello, my name's Tim Colbeck, 2100 Pontiac Lake Road, Waterford. Why Waterford? I'm here on behalf of Oakland County. I'm from Main Street, Oakland County. I just want to talk very briefly about the vacancy of a DDA director and the importance of placing such person in that position. Per Act 57 of 2018, which is the state law that establishes the right for DDA, it does clearly state that the board may employ and fix compensation of a director subject to the approval of the governing body of the municipality. There is meant to be a separation from the local government with the DDA, and that's primarily because they operate not solely on property taxes collected from the village, but they're also capturing property taxes from the county, the township, Oakland County Community College, and a number of other entities. And so it's important that they have this autonomy and authority to make decisions on the behalf of themselves. Of course, the village is the entity that created the DDA, and you do by right have the right to review and approve the hiring of a director. But again, typically relying on the board members that were appointed through the council, you would trust hopefully their judgment on the process that they've gone through, that it was fully vetted, and when they make a recommendation, typically the council would approve said hire. And really, in the case of right now, it's important to fill the position. It has been vacant. You have a very competent and very successful interim director right now, but that's an interim director, and you're never going to get that full attention that you really will get once you hire a full-time person who will be here representing the community and the local businesses. So really all I'm saying is hopefully at the July 8th meeting, it'll be a matter of just saying, yes, we think that we trust that the DDA board did their proper due diligence and that you can support their recommendation for hiring of a director. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Love.
John Love, 200 North Saginaw. I have a problem with the water bills. The problem is that you're in violation of a Supreme Court case, Bolt versus the City of Lansing, that says if you're not connected to the water system, you don't get a water bill. What a concept. But we don't believe in following that rule. We send a bill to everybody, even if they're not connected to the water system. That's illegal, but that's how it goes. The village manager took the people that challenged that or tried to enforce that rule to court, and they coughed up a $500,000 in legal charges because our attorney couldn't handle the case. They had to hire this company that is one of the two that charges outrageous fees and pays off all the judges in Oakland County. So that court case was thrown out because they don't have to obey the Supreme Court and logic. The logic is that if you have a factory that uses lots of water, you're paying the same amount of money as an empty lot or of some single homeowner. That's totally unfair and it's illegal. But Manager Walker manages the council, so they just went ahead and paid that fee off. And you can ask your attorney here about what the story is, if he's not too busy. But that is disgraceful to see that kind of thing go on. So you're a new ballgame, and I appreciate it if you'd obey Bolt versus Lansing and stop charging empty lots and people that only use very little water the same amount as a factory or a school or filling swimming pools. If that doesn't register, we have some real problems, not in anything except mental capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Love. I was just a little surprised there was no applause. You guys are slacking. Yes, please.
Stacy Ward, 107 Lake Street. Is this time to ask questions? Just random questions?
You can ask. Council comments will carry any answers that they want to refer to at the end of the meeting.
I was just wondering what's going on at the middle school right now. There's a bunch of dumpsters and a lot of construction going on. Not this one, the old one, Sherman. What's going on at Sherman? For whose administrative
Okay, well,
offices?
this is your 3 minutes. This is not time for back and forth at this moment. Thank you. Any more public comment? I want to remind everyone, you're all free to call the village offices whenever you like to ask simple questions that require simple answers so that we can follow process in these meetings and move through them efficiently and fairly to everybody. That is why we have our process here. It is not meant to offend anybody or disappoint you. If there's no more public comment, we will move to new business. Lisa, will you please read item A of new business?
Consideration by Village Council of the approval of Resolution 2025-015, acknowledging receipt and adoption of the Village of Holly fiscal year 2025 to 2026 General Appropriations Act.
This item is the formal resolution acknowledging the receipt and adoption of the budget. Do I have a first to consider item A of new business?
I'll make the motion to consider item A of new business.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Cole. Second by Weinbrenner. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item B?
Consideration of Village Council of the approval of Resolution 2025-016, acknowledging receipt and adoption of the Village of Holly fiscal year 2025 to 2026 fee schedule.
Similar to the last item, this is the formal resolution acknowledging receipt and adoption of the village fee schedule. It has been part of the budget discussions. Do I have a first to consider item B of new business?
I will make the motion to consider item B of new business.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Cole, second by Wendell. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none and hearing none. Council discussion, anyone?
Are we gonna get the fee chart from Brian? Highlighted right down there.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, Headstone Foundation, I'm sorry.
So we are gonna have to strike that one from this. It is part of our fees for the foundation, but again, so the fee schedule, we've always had fees, but in order to be more transparent, the fee schedule never been posted as like one document people look for, what does it charge, what am I gonna get charged if I need, if I'm doing a water key deposit, or any of these things. And so we're trying to compile as much of that as possible to have that one document so anyone can look at the website and see what those fees are. Again, these fees have always existed, we're just updating them, making sure that they're readily accessible for everyone. And so some of them, like that one, I just noticed, so we'll have to remove that from this one. And it would still exist, but it won't be on this fee schedule.
Are we gonna add it to a later date, time, or something, or?
With it, so, I need to verify that though, just, so Ryan is saying that it hasn't changed from the previous year, still 50 cents per square inch, but I want to verify beforehand. And so if we are to amend this, then we'll bring it back before council and have it be amended. Probably, if it's something like that, where it's no changes to the actual fees, it'll be part of the consent agenda. If it's actually changes, that would be reflected to residents, we put it on new business or old business, depending on how it's presented.
Now, can we still approve it, or do we gotta put it out, because it only says,
Approve as amended, the same way we did the consent agenda.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, so I know it's done right.
So the motion by Cole, do you amend your motion to say approve as amended?
So I'm going to amend my motion to say approved as amended.
The second by
And I'm gonna
Wendell?
second it.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion?
I have a clarification question, just because I happen to just have a new roof put on, and here under roof/re-roof, it says, see building permit fee schedule. Is that gonna be based upon taxable value now versus a flat fee?
I believe if you look at the following pages, that it has the building permit fee schedule on there, and that value is based on, right? That's the project. You can go up to the market if you want there. Our fire chief is also our building inspector, our building official, sorry.
Put his other hat on.
I'm sorry?
I said, put the other hat on.
Yep, so that'll be based on project costs.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you for going for the walk.
Council, any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item C?
Consideration of the approval of Resolution 2025-017, amending the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
Do I have a first to consider item C of new business?
I will make the motion to consider the approval of Resolution 2025-017, amending the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Kyer, we have a second by Cole. Clerk, will you please, no? Tim, can you please introduce this item?
Yes, Madam President. So just as we're closing out the 24-25 year, the budget that, the legacy budget that we're handed. We are, the numbers that you have in front of you, I've updated on the website as well, if you go there. So they are as recent as the 21st, so on Saturday, I pulled the most recent activity, we kind of projected out. What's going to happen is we still do a budget reconciliation at the end of the year, because some things, we won't see until perhaps afterwards. We're trying to get as close as we possibly can right now, both from revenue and expenditures, and but after the fiscal year, we will do a budget reconciliation that has the exact numbers.
Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, seeing none. Council, any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item D?
Consideration of council to approve the Holly Mill Pond Dam Committee.
Okay, so, let me see. My selection for candidates for the Mill Pond Committee are, there's 14 of them, so give me a minute. Jim Clark, Ashley Walker, David Prince, Don Burke, Patrick Klenner, Robert Montgomery, Megan Rugenstein, pardon me for butchering your name, Sarah Notchigal, Mike Rose, Brad Stillwell, Sue Gillian, Bob Hoffman, Danny Rathsberger, Regina Kakos. Do I have a first to consider item E of new business?
I'll make the motion to consider item E.
Motion by Ryan,
I'll second the motion.
support by Weinbrenner.
It should be D.
Oh, what did I say? I meant to say D. Does your
I-
first remain?
Yes, for item D.
And your second remains?
Item D.
Thank you. Let's see, Tim, can you please introduce this item?
Yes, at our previous regular council meeting, it was voted on to create to help provide guidance to the village council in regards to Holly Mill Pond and all the issues that are going on. Attached in there, you'll see all the individuals that requested to participate. We have some we have some great candidates that are some residents, some engineers. We have a county commissioner, the Rose Township supervisor. Staff has been dealing with this item in real time. And so I wanted to also take this time, I was going to do it during my manager update, but I can do it now to kind of give the people on this committee an understanding of kind of where we're sitting right now. To provide a little background on this item, although there's a long history with our mill pond, I'm only going to really talk about the events that have happened since I've been here, so since January. At the end of April, a subcontracted engineer company named SME released a report summarizing the existing conditions and considerations for future planning of the Mill Pond Dam. This prompted renewed discussions between the Village of Holly and Eagle, their dam safety unit. Staff met with the dam safety unit on May 13th to discuss the report and plan a way forward. After this meeting, the DSU provided the following guidance to the village. Based on the deficiencies identified by your engineers and the associated recommendations, including concerns with embankment stability identified in 2005, unpermitted embankment repair work that exacerbated those concerns in 2021, and the recent evaluation of existing conditions confirming the seepage and slope stability conditions that endanger the dam, the village is required to submit a permit application for drawdown of the impoundment to the extent possible ASAP. DSU stated that this guidance was pursuant to the requirements of Part 315, which details dam safety. Having received this guidance, the village began preparing a drawdown permit, however, expressed our concerns to the DSU in regards to wanting an opportunity for community input. Based on this, we scheduled the public forum that was hosted here on May 27th. During this forum, we heard from Eagle, staff, Row, and SME. The community showed up with overwhelming support for maintaining the mill pond. On June 2nd, after our meeting, Eagle required the village to submit a drawdown permit by the end of the day on June 3rd. Staff went back and forth with DSU on whether this was an order or recommendation. However, they were reluctant to provide specificity on this. Instead, they threatened escalated enforcement and fines if we did not comply. At 4:59 p.m., in about 27 seconds, on June 3rd, the village submitted the application for the drawdown permit. On June 11th, the village received an order from DSU that outlined expectations and levied additional requirements during the potential drawdown. These items include monitoring requirements, using boats, daily photographs of the area, and wildlife displacement. To my understanding, these requirements had never previously been levied against the village during past drawdowns. On June 18th, I reached out to Jared Sanders, who is the Director of Water Resources Division for the state of Michigan. During this, I explained the constraints and the timeline and the additional requirements placed in the village, and I again asked for more time to work with the community and be thoughtful in our approach. The village received approval for conditional drawdown yesterday afternoon. This permit is not active until we sign it or we begin the drawdown, which they wanted us to begin this morning. I expressed my concerns with some of the languages and considerations in this drawdown permit to Director Sanders and to the DSU. We're still advocating for more time for the study to be done. However, they're pushing very hard for us to begin immediately to conduct a drawdown. So we're still pushing back. We have not begun this. I'm trying to buy as much time as we can for the committee to review this, to provide recommendations, so we decide our way forward. I'd like to get this committee together as soon as possible, begin researching course of action in order to make recommendation to council before Beagle can begin any enforcement actions.
Any public comment on this item? Yes, please.
My name's Cliff Pashota, and I'm at 102 North Broad, and I also live in the township, have two places. I would, and I don't know, from what I've understood, you have to either repair this dam or take it out. Is that correct? Okay.
Mr. Pashota, this isn't a Q&A right now. The council will give any answers during council comments.
Here's the deal, okay? There's 5 lakes that live behind you with a minimum of 21 people on those lakes that if you draw down this, and temporarily is fine, but if you take the dam out, you're going to drop all the water levels in those lakes. The assessment of lake property is going to change, boat docks are going to change, and you're going to get a group lawsuit that you're not going to be able to understand. That's what I'm just saying. Okay, so I just want the committee to be aware that we are in favor of the repair.
Thank you.
Not the elimination. Thank you.
So for further clarification, the causality of what would happen whether we are to repair or replace or remove is part of what the dam committee is asked to look into and provide more understanding of as we go forward.
Mr. Clark?
Jim Clark, 314 Hadley Street. One thing that I think needs to be considered first is what is the mill pond? Where is the impoundment? Most of it is between the 2 sets of railroad tracks in Rose Township. What you see from Broad Street constitutes 30 to 40% of the entire pond. So if you're doing anything there, that impoundment, all of it is going to be greatly affected, inch by inch. So please take that into consideration.
Thank you. Sherilyn?
I'm Sherilyn Everly from 314 Hadley Street, and I appreciate this committee, and I hope it also becomes a conduit for putting information out to us. Regina and I have taken to just like looking up people at Eagle, and their name has something to do with dams, so we're sending them emails. I looked up people that had discharge in their title, and I sent them emails. And we're getting all kinds of stuff that tells us, like, the one that really disturbed me said, oh, and we're going to be out there rescuing the animals that, you know, the wildlife that gets caught in the mud. Well, that just tells me how little they know what they're talking about, because you won't even be able to get to the animals. As soon as you take down 2 feet, it's going to be 10 feet of mud, 3 feet deep, and who knows what all to even get to the animals. It made it sound like it was the rodeo in Jurassic Park. I just don't understand why Eagle is so all hell-bent to get this thing done. Number one, they haven't proven the risk. Number two, as Brian said at a meeting a little while back, even with the screwed-up berm, we still have gone through 2 500-year and 1,000-year rain. So I just don't get it. And I'm beginning to think that all these engineers went to college together, and this is some kind of a Ponzi scheme where, you know, they say you need this, and here's, you know, a few $100,000, and oh, now you're gonna need this over here for this study because now you drained it and now you don't know what's in your sediment. And it just goes on and on and on, no stop. And again, thank God we've got Davisburg down the river to look at because that's a $5 million hole. $5 million to take that out. So what I'm hoping for is that we get cooperation from the Oakland County Water Resource Commission. I'm glad they're gonna be on the committee with us. I don't see why we can't end up with a berm that's stable and a dam that looks sort of like the one out at Lake Braemar. It just doesn't have to be a Hoover Dam. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Maher. I live at 7855 Water Road in Holly. My family's got a business in Holly. We pass by the mill pond several times a day on the way to and from our store up there. I serve on the Rose Township Board as a trustee, and I do want to be on the record. So I prepared a quick comment. I want to take a moment, recognize and thank the folks in our community and yours working hard to protect the pond, the land around it, and the water that flows from it in a town like yours and ours. The pond isn't just scenery, it's history, way of life, it's an identity. The cost of repairing the dam is a heavy lift, probably several million. But I also believe that when something matters to the people, it's worth taking a serious look at. Every option. Listen carefully, look at outside funding sources, grants and such, work together, be responsible and be realistic. As a trustee, I'm fiscally really conservative. I don't like spending a nickel if it don't have to be spent. I'm committed to making sure Rose's voices are heard and that we do the best thing for the village and for Rose Township to preserve the pond because it makes both of our homes, you know, feel like home. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Council, any discussion?
I have one thing to say is, where is the evidence, where is the proof, where in black and white does it say our dam is failing? Just like a piece of paper like this. No, I've asked Tim many a time, and Tim's even told me, no, I want to see a graph that shows that it's failing.
So they're basing this on the dam safety report and that they have from, I think 2017 was the last time they did one, was it the last? No, 2017. And so one of the arguments that I've been making to Eagle is that our dam is rated poor. But however, the actual qualification that requires emergency action is unsatisfactory, which is below poor, which we haven't been rated that as yet. And so that is one of the items that I keep bringing up to Eagle, to the State Water Division, is that if you want to do emergency actions, there is a mechanism for that, and it's to classify it as such and to follow it. And another argument part of this is that they are arguing this under Part 315 of the Dam Safety Act. However, the conditional drawdowns that they have submitted to us have been under Part 301 and 303, which don't have anything to do with dam safety. It has to do with water, our water resources and such, which the reason that I push back is because there are public engagement processes that are supposed to occur that they're trying to bypass. And so I've asked them to, like, you know, do the public hearings, do it, and they've said, well, the public hearings aren't gonna matter. I was like, yeah, but you should still do them. You should still follow the processes, and that's what we've really been pushing back on them for, is that the things that they're arguing that are the unsafe reasons for this are not even mentioned in their permitting for us. However, they will keep referring back to the 2017 study and then the SME study that was provided on April 20th of this year.
And a lot of their report was shown when they were here, but it still met the standards Tim was just talking about. So he's been pushing for process, I've been tracking their emails, and they've just been, they're resistant to give us that unsatisfactory, which would therefore show imminent cause for removal, and he's been pushing for process regardless. So they've been hard at work, but what I want to point out right now, I'm glad we got to review that yet again. This motion is to create this committee. Any further discussion?
On your list, we do have a council rep that has not been determined. Would we, along with this motion, also apply whoever, whatever council member we think appropriate?
If I can get a consensus from council who that might be, then we can add that and amend it into the motion perhaps.
Can I recommend Buster, since Mr. Weinbrenner has clearly been an advocate of this for a while?
I'm cool with that.
Okay,
You guys
I
kinda cool with
second that.
okay with it.
All right, so who made this motion again?
I did.
Do you amend your motion to include Buster?
Yes.
And who was the second?
I don't remember.
Was it me?
Was it Ryan?
Ryan was the first, and
Ryan was the
Buster was the second.
I amend my motion to include Buster as our rep.
And Buster, do you amend your second to include you as the rep?
Amend the second then.
Okay. You don't have to amend anything. Okay.
I
Any
thought Buster was
further-
going to recommend Coscola, but, so.
Yeah. Any further discussion on creating this committee? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes,
Kyer,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. So, the first meeting for that Mill Pond Committee.
Yeah, so we're going to, after this, I'm going to work with myself and Danny, and we'll start reaching out to everyone and scheduling, looking at availability, trying to do it as soon as possible, because I would like to get some kind of initial, discussion points for the July 8th meeting of council.
Perfect. Okay. So to everyone that's here, that was added into that committee, they will be reaching out to you. All right. Now, Lisa, will you please read item E?
Consideration by council in contracting with CEC Controls to upgrade the main programmable logic control system at the wastewater treatment plant at a cost not to exceed $148,587.
Do I have a first to consider item E of new business?
I'll make the motion to consider item E of new business.
Second.
I have a motion by Wendell and support by Kyer. Brian, can you please introduce this item?
Yeah, during the budget session, we talked about upgrades to a couple different things at the wastewater plant, one of them being the programmable logic controls. The current ones in there were put in by my predecessor and are only available on eBay used. You can't buy them new, and then if you buy them used on eBay, you take the chance if they're gonna be programmable or how long, what kind of lifespan you get on them. So we started checking around. We originally went with a company, Outbound Technologies. They did some work to upgrade our water treatment plant, and they didn't perform as we expected, and a one-day project turned into about a 3-month project. So we went back outside and did some checking around to try to find someone affordable, someone that understood the wastewater process, and we came across CECs at one of our conferences. We worked with them. We felt very comfortable with the questions they were asking. They looked at the equipment that we had already purchased from that Outbound recommended, and they said that we were missing some components, but we could probably use this equipment for the next step of this project. So they gave us an updated cost, and that cost is the $148, and that'll provide all the equipment to do the initial upgrade for the main PLCs and get them up and running. And then we'll phase the other 2 projects in, and there's money in this next year's budget and probably the following year's budget to finish this project.
Thank you. Next, we'll do public comment on this item. Yes, please.
Is the water?
Can you approach and state your name and address, please?
Hello, my name is Edward Sherrill, 3372 Harrington Drive. Is this coming out of the budget? $148,000 out of the budget that you just forced on us for something that we don't have to have, just we want to upgrade, so we're going to use money that you just forcefully took from us?
Council will be having their discussion in a moment. Any further public comment? Hearing none and seeing none. Council, discussion.
Would you let us know which budget this is coming out of for the?
Yes, this does not come out of the general fund budget. The water and sewer budgets are separate from the general fund. So this is from your water and sewer rates, not from your tax rates. So that's where this money is from. It was a budgeted item from last year and approved from last year's budget. If this is approved tonight, we'll make sure that it's paid out of this year's budget. There is funds appropriated for that out of the water and sewer funds.
Council?
This hasn't been upgraded since 2006 or something like that.
Before that,
Read the notes right?
probably, I'm gonna say the 80s and 90s. My predecessor worked, we were one of the first wastewater plants in the state of Michigan to have a computer. And he did a lot of this stuff with our consultant that recently retired to make our plant automated, so that what allows us to operate a 24/7 operation with 3 operators and a supervisor, so.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Brian, what would happen if we don't get it?
Things could fail, and when they fail, we don't have replacements for them, and we don't have any IT people on staff that can program these things, so we would be scrambling to try to find somebody. There is a couple other companies that are very familiar with water and sewer, but they're on the higher range. Our current wastewater superintendent worked with them when he worked for Oakland County, and those companies, he's used them, and he said, you know, well, we can get a price from them, but this is by far a lot better, because he's seen prices from them in his previous
Another
employment.
thing too, Brian, what we've got in there now, are you having problems getting parts for?
Parts and memory, what happens is because we've added so many points into the system that it checks regularly, it causes it to crash, and we have to reboot it up and reprogram some stuff. So this allows the plant to run automated when nobody's there and give us warnings if we have high pumps or pump failures and stuff like that, so,
Okay, thanks, Brian.
yeah.
Brian, what happens if we don't get it and things fail?
We're gonna pay a lot of overtime, because someone's gonna have to be manning the plant 24 hours a day to make sure nobody ends up with an inside pool with dirty water. We'll have sewage backup, possible sewage backups.
Is there a cheaper option?
We checked, Outbound Technologies gave us some, they provided some equipment at a cheaper price, but it wasn't all the equipment, and we would have been stuck doing this mid-grade if we would have went with them, moved forward with them, and been scrambling to get what we needed to get the plant back up and running.
I think that's it for me, you guys. Council?
Is there any guarantee from the CEC with the equipment they're putting in? Do they offer any guarantee on any warranties?
Yeah, there's warranties, because it's all brand-new equipment, and then they're also going to do a step-by-step process. They're gonna do it in steps. They're gonna figure out which endpoints control what, and they're not just gonna turn the switch off and plug everything back in and turn it back on. They're gonna do it in phases so that they can make sure everything works as we go.
And are they gonna, like, train the people at the sewage treatment plant on the new system?
The new system will go through our Iconic system. It'll talk to that, and the people that are there will use the Iconic system to look at what this is doing. This is the background to what the system we use to control everything, so,
Thank you, Brian.
yep.
I just have one question too. You said that there were potentially other options out there that were more expensive. Did we do any more RFQs for any of those companies or just these two?
No, we met with Outbound originally, and then we met with CECs after the Outbound failed to provide the services we expected at the water treatment plant. These guys came out, they were familiar, they took one look at the equipment, they started rattling off stuff that was both over my head and my wastewater treatment superintendent's head in terms of PLCs and programmable logic and what we needed. They came back with, when we compared apples to apples with Outbounds, and the price was just the upgrade of the, Tom did some research on the controller part of it, and there were so many different varieties. They ranged anywhere from $500 to $60,000. So it just depends on how many endpoints you program into it.
Thank you.
Yep.
What is staff's recommendation and why?
Staff would recommend contracting with CECs to do this upgrade, pay for it out of this year's budget, and then we'll look at phases 2 and 3 as this plays out to make sure that they're going to meet our expectations.
Now, you say phases 2 and 3, are there like more additions to the software?
Yes, this is just for the main PLC that, when you come into the wastewater treatment plant, it's right there where the main office is. We have one that runs our grit room, and then we have another one that runs our, digesters.
The
And they all
big-
talk to you.
Big screen that we saw that one day?
Yeah, but behind that, there's a cabinet full of wires and,
Servers and,
yes, so,
Is our current system facing imminent failure?
yes, just because of, the PLCs are there obsolete. When the first, person from Outbound came out and opened the cabinet, and he's like, wow, these still work. So, we've been very fortunate with that, so,
Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
and Brian, you did say that you have to keep resetting the system occasionally?
Yes, we have to
Because
reboot
it
this.
crashes, so this is like,
Yeah, the endpoints, we get too much information and it's gathered and it causes it to crash because of the age of these.
so it's obviously don't got enough data supporting,
Yes, it supports all the data that we generate on a daily basis and
but the
report.
one we have now doesn't. It doesn't support it all, it doesn't.
Yeah,
that's
if it
why
gets too
crashes.
much data is generated when we have high events and stuff like that, then that information is, a lot of data is generated and then it causes the system to crash.
Overloads itself and goes
Yeah.
beep, beep. Okay.
Council? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Tyre,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item F?
Consideration by council to direct staff to solicit bids for village attorney services.
This is an item that council directed staff to put on an agenda for council consideration during our June 10th meeting. Do I have a first to consider item F of new business?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Ryan and a second by Wendell. Any public comment on this item? Mr. Love?
John Love. The problem is that the Supreme Court in Bolt versus Lansing said specifically, if you don't use the water, you don't get a bill. Except we're violating that. And our attorney is here. He can give some kind of a outlook, an explanation, because you evidently can't figure this one out. But it's very simple. The Supreme Court said, if you don't use the water, you don't pay a bill. It's real simple. So what's happened is that the school uses a lot of water, some factory uses a lot of water. They pay the same amount of money, $25 a month, as somebody that isn't even connected to the water system. It's a tax. It's, I don't know if it's beyond ability to understand this concept, but it's been decided by the Supreme Court. I told you that Walker decided to spend $250,000 to pay off the judges so that they don't have to obey the Supreme Court in Michigan. But that doesn't alleviate the fact that it's the law. So we have an attorney here that you pay to come to these meetings. So you need to have him earn some money on this one and do something about it. If it's beyond your ability to comprehend, it's just an embarrassment to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Any further public comment on this item? Jim?
Jim Clark, 314 Hadley Street. Our current attorney and his mentor have represented Holly for 30, 40 years. Periodically, it's a good idea to sharpen the pencil and look around to make sure that we're getting the best possible services for the lowest amount of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any further public comment? Jeff?
Jess Ballard, 202 Lakeview. That last remark I made a while ago about the street person, I want to apologize for that. I shouldn't have said it. Now, what this gentleman behind me here is talking about, when I first bought that place at 202 Lakeview, it had been repoed and was kind of trashed. I couldn't live in it. There was no services to it. And this water bill and sewer and water debt, I was getting a bill on it and had no services whatsoever. Well, I refused to pay the bill at the time. It went on and finally got out of control. I was trying to work with the tax people in Pontiac, with Jerry Walker. I was just spinning my wheels and not going anywhere. And I come in the hair losing that house because I couldn't pay, or I refused to pay the water and water bill. Well, there was no water bill, but just the water bond and sewer bond. And finally, I got over $3,000 in debt, messing around, trying to get it justified. And finally, had to borrow some money. And finally got the tax thing cleared up. But now that's what this can lead to. It's what this Supreme Court ruling is about. That you can't come up with a bunch of bull crap assessments and stuff and add it on to people's property taxes. That is just a guideline, what he's talking there about the Supreme Court. It covers anything that violates the Headley Amendment, and you can't add it on to property taxes. It's got to stand on its own, whatever the issue may be. And thanks.
Thank you.
I'm gonna clap.
There you go. It's back. Thank you, Jeff. Any further public comment on this item? Okay. Council, discussion. All right, I'll start. Our contract with Mike, is it fire at will? Is it subcontract? What do we got going on here? What's it look like if we were even to consider someone else? Do I ask Tim?
I would ask the village attorney on
do I
that
ask
one.
Mike? Hi, Mike.
I'm an at-will contractor, always have been, and by law, really can't be anything other than that. So I'm terminable at will.
Thank you. Council? Lisa, please call the roll.
Madam President, would you like me to weigh in at all on just Mike's
I
experience?
think it sounds like you would like to.
I
Go
would,
right ahead.
I would like to just, for my perspective as probably the one that works with Attorney Gildner the most.
Please
I
do.
will say that, although I do agree with Mr. Clark's assessment that, we should sharpen the pencil once in a while, I also would say that we have had a lot of knowledge and experience that's been lost within the community recently, and Attorney Gildner has been invaluable to me in this. Every piece of guidance that I've gotten from him has always been based on the legal definition. We've not agreed on everything, but it's always been based on legal requirements. I've done a little bit of research, and most of the comparables are twice the rate of what we get out of his office. And he's also been accessible to me. If I need something that day, I'm getting a call from him and we're having a conversation. So I just wanted my perspective on that as well to be heard, although it's completely a council appointment.
Thank you.
Madam President, if I could also be heard? on
Yes,
that?
please.
Because I too agree with Mr. Clark. Periodically, it's good to know what else is out there. But you don't need to go out for bid to find that out. There is something that's available on the State Bar's website called the Economics of Law Survey. Anybody can find it. It's published every 3 years or so. And the State Bar then, they take a survey, and among other things, they're telling you what are attorney rates by different metrics. And so I pulled a few metrics I just wanted to give to you, and you can double check all of these. One of them is primary office location. If the geographical area is Oakland County north of 59, the mean or average attorney rate is $318. If you look at county and look at Oakland County, the mean hourly rate is $356. If you go by years of practice, 31 to 35 years, which is where I fit, it's $369 an hour. If you go by the number of lawyers in at the office, and we have 5, it's $327 an hour. And then finally, if you look at municipal law in Oakland County, it's $217 an hour. So on one hand, it'd be very easy or flip for me to say, sure, take it out. And then, you know, maybe I'll propose the average of whatever it is that you get, but I'm not suggesting that. Those are numbers that are hard, they're real, that's what I go by. The last time I proposed something to the village in terms of my hourly rate, that's what I went by. And I am far below it. I'm almost $50 below just municipal law, not taking into account Oakland County, 360, 356. Just looking at municipal law, I'm $50 below the mean. I ask that you take that into consideration.
You're charging us approximately $150 an hour.
Then I am almost $100 below the average for municipal law.
Thank you. I've heard you called every name under the sun.
I'm sorry?
I've heard you called every name under the sun by different people in this audience, as I have the rest of us. And this entire process for the last few months, as I've mentioned before in regards to other staff members, has been completely demoralizing. I haven't once thought you have guided us wrong. And I thank you for your service. Lisa, will you please call the roll?
Weinbrenner,
No.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
No.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes. Motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item G?
Consideration by council to direct staff to solicit bids for village auditing services.
This is another item that council directed staff to put on an agenda for council discussion during the June 10th meeting. Do I have a first to consider item G of new business?
So moved.
I will second.
We have a motion by Kyer, we have a second by Cole. Any public comment on this item? Yes, please.
Amber Deschamps, 300 Seminole. I didn't prepare anything to talk about this section, but just based on the things that I've seen that Plant Moran has provided this village over the last few years and their lack of, I don't know, without knowledge of the upcoming deficit that was happening, or they're like making bigger red flags to make sure that council was fully aware of the situation, I would recommend that you guys consider a completely different company, even if it does have to be a little bit more with more taxes going towards the general fund. I would hope that we would be able to pay somebody who can do a better job than what Plant Moran has provided this village. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on this item? Council, any discussion? You know what? Let's go ahead and go back to public comment for just a moment.
I second that.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I guess you're talking about bids for whoever's going to represent the village for the coming time, for the future. Or are you talking about single meetings? Well, if you tell me what I think you are, what I would do if it was me, my recommendation. You know in advance what your meetings is going to be. And either the president or the manager, whichever, you know what the upcoming agendas is. And if you've got any questions about the legality of it, talk to the attorney for like one session about everything upcoming and find out if you're in violation of anything or not. And let one consultation, I believe they call it, do the whole thing instead of having a legal opinion on everything you do. Seems to me like it'd be a lot cheaper. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Jeff?
You got somebody in the back.
Jerome?
Jerome Raska, 106 Battle Alley. The auditing services is one of the items that we, as a DDA board, have been looking at closely. So I feel that and the board has discussed at several of our meetings about the fees that the DDA is paying for the auditing services provided through the village. So I definitely think it's something that y'all should look at and review, and there's nothing wrong with getting some other opinions.
Thank you, Jerome. Council, sorry, was there any further public comment? This is secondsies. No? Yeah? Go right ahead. Free for all now.
Dwayne, 15226 Weller. So when it comes to an audit, there's got to be a purpose. And so if there's a purpose, that means there's a reason why we need it. So I would ask that you guys look into all the reasons why you need it, and then only get costs for those things in the audit, from the auditor. Because if I had to guess, there's a lot of extra information in an audit that we probably don't need. So if there's one reason for an audit, I would ask you, do you know the one reason? If there's two reasons, do you know the two reasons? And on and on. If there's 12 reasons why you need an audit, you should know all 12. If there's only one reason, my guess is it's going to be a lot cheaper. So consider that, please. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Any further public comment? We're moving on to council discussion. Council, any discussion?
So I have just a point. If we have been working on this budget, it has consumed my life, and which I signed up for. And I don't think we're doing our due diligence if we're not seeking bids on all aspects. I don't think any of this is at any hit to our attorney or to any of these things, but we as a new council, for the most part, new manager, new treasurer, clerk, we need to seek out these bids and see what we're working with. We clearly have a budget issue, and we're not doing our due diligence if we're not finding out this information.
Thank you, Shannon. Council?
I just have a couple of things about the DDA stuff. If the DDA isn't really part of the village and we're not paying anybody's salary other than having to agree upon the salary status, I don't understand why we're dragging whoever, whatever it is, across the rocks and the fire and everything else. For this, if it's just approving a salary,
This is audit services.
this is public comment.
This is audit services.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were on public comment for council. I'm so sorry, never mind.
I would just second what Shannon said, absolutely, I mean,
Yeah.
I would third it.
I agree with it, that we should.
If there's no further council
I would like to add, with the bids, can you guys also get reviews from other municipalities that use them? Like both from like this side of the table and your guys' side of the table? Because I know from experience as you know, my wife did this kind of stuff in multiple different municipalities. Some are better than others, like some will go up to the employees and have a totally different mentality when they're with the employees versus with the council side. So we want someone that's gonna be honest with both sides and say the same story to both groups of people.
Council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kyer,
yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. This brings us to reports. Village manager.
Yes, I did want to go, just one point of clarification with the village attorney services item, that I know that we can go out to bid, but for removal, I just reviewed the charter, it is a supermajority. So if you were to vote, it would have to be a five-person vote to actually remove an appointed person. So either the village attorney, clerk, or myself would have to be a supermajority.
I'm sorry, and that's to solicit bids,
No,
or
not
that's
to
to
solicit.
actually go with someone
That's
else?
for removal. We can still solicit bids.
Okay.
But if you were to choose to remove, then.
It has to be a supermajority.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you for that. And on to reports.
All right. Over the past month, our primary focus has been, obviously, as everyone knows, budget discussion. We've done several public meetings for our special assessment and the budget. We did meetings on May 29th, June 10th, June 16th, June 17th for budget related. With the, now that you're moving on, we're going to now shift gears, or at least I will be shifting gears a lot, into how are we strategically looking forward? How are we looking at next year's budget? What are we doing to now lower the tax burden for everyone and propose some new ideas? So at the July 8th meeting, I'm going to start presenting some initial concepts and ideas to council to kind of consider. Nothing that we're going to have to decide on right away, but just, these are some ways forward that we could go, so that we're not in the same predicament that we were in previously. So we're through that, starting right away on the next year. And so that's going on. I want to just remind everyone, keep saying it as much as possible, we're going to do our Independence Day fireworks celebration on July 3rd. That's why I'm saying July 3rd rather than 4th of July, or I'm saying Independence Day, because I want to make sure everyone shows up on the right day. It's up there. We still need some volunteers for the event. Historically, council has assisted on that, so at the end of this meeting, if anyone wants to volunteer to help with our parking on council, I've got our sign-up sheet here to help out the staff. Staff will also be there doing it as well. Not to put you on the spot, but I've got some positions open. So for 2-hour shifts during the day, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., 1 p.m. to 3, and some in the afternoon as well. As we're just getting people parked, so we can help pay for some of these fireworks that we have. Because that's the only way that we can actually pay for them is through either donations or fundraising like this. Continue to host a coffee with the village manager the day before each monthly council meeting. Yesterday, I was scheduled to have just Chief Narsh, but also Chief Watson and Brian showed up, and we were able to kind of sit around and talk. Council person Cole was also there, and I would like to encourage. We don't have very much participation on that. This moving forward, what I think I'm going to do is try to focus who the guest is with me to be more on whatever the hot topic is, of what we're talking about during that time, to maybe get more interest, more people come out to answer some of the questions. As the village president said, you can always reach out to us, but I also have these opportunities if you have questions on the agenda, or any questions at all, what's going on in the village, I make myself available. It's 8 to 10, the day before a council meeting, that you can talk about any agenda items if you're, if you're too nervous about that, to come and do it here. Additionally, the village president and I host town hall sessions quarterly. Our next one is scheduled for August 13th at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. And that is, I know some people are frustrated that they can't do the back and forth. Well, this is designed to be a back and forth with the village president and I, and some department heads. So you can have more of that conversation that isn't as restricted because of Robert's rules. I know some people mentioned a forensic audit. We've talked about looking at a new auditing service. Provided some forensic auditing services tools, like some services that I've seen that have been successful in the past for other communities. I can get price lists if that's something that council actually wants to consider. I think it's something that's actually worth looking into. But as we were, looking at a deficit, it's hard to suggest something that's going to be $8,000, $30,000. Although it will help us plan forward and look strategically for the future. It is an expense, and it is based on what our needs are, what we actually would like. And so I've kind of got an itemized list that I can provide to council for that. The ethics committee is going to meet, I believe, this Thursday to discuss some of our ongoing items. Someone asked about the middle school at Sherman. The village has nothing. I mean, we don't do anything with the schools. That would be a school board question for the most part. I have worked with them a little bit currently on some with our DPW and the road commission on some right-of-way issues that they're having, looking at doing a left turn lane into the new school. But other than that, we're kind of limited on what we actually control or do with the schools. Since we have the approved budget now, I'm hoping to finalize our collective bargaining negotiations that we have with 3 of our unions. That we've kind of gotten at a place where we were just waiting for this to happen, and now we can close them out. Our unions have been very willing to work with staff and council, and rather than doing, a request that would try to get them on par with everyone else, they've agreed to do just a 1-year extension with just a 3% that's based on all of our budget numbers to just get us through, so we can look at some of these strategic solutions and maybe hopefully have plans to get them on par down the road. I've already talked the mill pond issue. Danny and I will start scheduling those meetings as we go forward. Enclosed in your packets and also online is our public engagement guide. It looks pretty complicated when you're looking at it. It's a multi-page document. Staff doesn't have to use it completely. It's not prescriptive, but it helps to promote collaboration. And it's like looking at, we have this item coming up. What is the best mechanisms that we can utilize to, who should we be engaging? Are they going to be able to actually inform us? Are they going to be able to collaborate with us? And it's just a good tool for anyone that's been in this for a while that might be complacent, trying different ideas. What is the best way to engage the community? So I would be interested in any input from community members or council as we look at that. Again, it's a very academic document, I would say, as you look at it. It has a lot of flow charts and things like that. But I think if you go through it and kind of do some projects with it, you'll see that it can be really helpful. And that's all I have there now.
Thank you, Tim. Did anyone else from staff care to make a report? If not, I will move over to council. Okay. Daniel.
Now I can bring up my thing at the correct moment. We're just supposed to do the salary, right? We're not supposed to do anything about who it is getting hired?
Actually, the DDA was pushed, that item is pushed to the agenda for next month's meeting. They had a special meeting recently where they divulged previously withheld information to the DDA on an item they had already made a vote on. So they had to do a revote. Council hasn't yet had an opportunity to review this previously withheld information that they described at Wednesday's meeting. And so they will be on the next month's agenda.
Okay. That's all I have because Mr. Manager over there reviewed everything else I had, so.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So I attended our HIA meeting last week, might have been Monday. They are currently in a little bit of a limbo as far as like moving offices and things like that. They're under construction, clearly, and things. So their caseworker is still coming out and meeting with people, but it's once a week until August. In August, they are switching meeting dates to the first Thursday. It is a public meeting. It's held at 3:30 at the Holly Township Library. They are always looking for volunteers. There's a lot of opportunity to help children in this community. High is a great resource. They are giving scholarships to people for skill building, whether it's driver's training, it's so expensive. They're out there trying to help people with pay to play, shoes, cleats, backpacks they're packing with school supplies coming in August. So if you do find yourself with a little bit of time, that is a wonderful organization to support.
Thank you. Pro Tem?
Yes. Parks met a couple weeks ago. We didn't really go over much except for the budget, and that was also demoralizing for our parks. So I'm proud of us for passing this because it could have truly been devastating for our parks if we hadn't. Secondly, Pride, Holly Pride is this Friday. The Village of Holly Parks will have a table there with some seeds that are bee-friendly and butterfly-friendly, if you'd like to come out and grab some. Lastly, I'd like to clarify a couple misconceptions. There's been a narrative that this council and the one before on which I served did not do their due diligence or push back on the previous administration's spending in regards to the fire truck or this building. I encourage you to go back and view our YouTube page for the meetings on both purchases. In particular, I'd like you to watch the fire truck meeting on July 16th, 2024. At minute 33, you will see me ask about our fund balance. We were told our fund balance sat at about $1 million. That is the total cost of the new truck after financing. It was alarming, but we were assured that we had the money to cover it, and the fund balance would also cover the building. The president also asked many questions about the numbers and what would happen if the proposed sources of income did not come to be. While it was a financially draining decision, it was also an imperative piece of equipment to keep this community safe, and I don't regret my vote. Just like I don't regret my no vote on this building and the questions I asked there. However, I do regret not being more stringent in my assertions, as we now know those were not accurate numbers. This council has been put in an impossible position, and we chose to make a decision that was neither safe nor politic. We did what was necessary to keep this community afloat. We didn't have the luxury of claiming everything was illegal just because we didn't like it or understand it. We found our time better suited to researching ways out of the mess versus pointing the finger or patting ourselves on the back. I'm proud of the work done by this staff and this council to facilitate necessary changes in how we do business and for placing this village above their own re-election campaigns. Lastly, there was a comment made about a joke that I made in February. I do not regret that. I am grateful that I have not lost my sense of humor in this job, in the same place I apparently lost my honor and integrity. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kyer. Ryan?
I have nothing at this time. Still just looking into more ways to save money, as Tim can attest. I email him like 3 or 4 times a day asking questions, so hopefully in the future I'll have something to report on that.
Weinbrenner?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay. Well, just to let everyone know, I resigned from the library board effective as last evening, and that was in anticipation of an upcoming conflict of interest. So we cannot, as leaders, sit on 2 boards and negotiate or even consider negotiations between those 2 boards, and that could be happening shortly. We're at least going to be having discussions surrounding it. And so I've chosen to lead by example. As much as I'd quite honestly love to stay on the library board, you know, honestly, it's a little easier at times than this seat. But I feel bound by duty and obligation to stay here. My integrity as well remains intact, even with allegations otherwise. Moving on, at the end of regular meetings, I sometimes report the loss of local residents if I'm made aware of it, or if someone requests it. I would like to extend, oh gosh, heartfelt condolences to our Parks Commissioner, Risa Hamilton for the loss of her daughter. Yes. There is no loss like that of losing a child. So our deepest condolences to the family and friends of this woman who's gone from this world far too young. And I never thought I'd be using this moment to report the loss of a dear friend, but on May 29th, I learned that we lost Eric Caldez, local business manager. He was also much too young and gone far too soon. I'd like to extend our condolences to Battle Alley Brewery, which will not be the same without him, and especially to his children, his parents, the rest of his friends and family. I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.